Response.
Welcome into Jets Nation Radio. I'm Angus Hout, joined by Noah Fuchs from CFRY out in Portage La Prairie. Before I get to you there, Noah, just got to shout out Betway. So if you're in Ontario, you want to get your gambling done. Yeah, you want to win money. You're like me, you want to win money. So go to Betway. Go make some bets on the NFL, CFL, NHL. You want to make Stanley Cup bets? That's the way to do it. 19 plus. Play responsibly, play wisely. That's all I can say. Noah, how's it going, buddy?
Angus, yeah, former roommate. Fun fact for everyone listening right now.
Former, well, hold on, not just roommate, but former member of this podcast, the OG when this was real rough.
Yeah, I didn't know if we were gonna bring that up, but yeah, I have been on the podcast before. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, you've been killing it, Angus. So pleasure to be on today.
Well, thank you so much. You're killing it out in Portage these days too. So like if you're driving through Portage, go tune into Noah's. He's doing fun things out there.
Yeah, so tonight, if you're wondering why I'm dressed like this, not usually dressed like this, but big election coming up here in Manitoba, provincial election, new premier, or same old premier going to be re-elected or elected, and of course, new MLA here in Portage La Prairie. But that has nothing to do with what we're here for, so I'll just shut up.
Yeah, we got hockey talk. I know you and I could talk about politics for hours on end, but I want to know your thoughts on Adam Lowry becoming the captain of the Winnipeg Jets.
I like it. I like it. I didn't really think there was any other option other than Morrissey. Morrissey might have been the sexier choice of the two. He puts up more points. He's more of who you would choose if you were an EA Sports GM. Gonna pick a captain, right? But when it comes down to it, who represents the Winnipeg Jets the best? I do think they got it right with Adam Lowry. He's the heart and soul of the Winnipeg Jets. He's not going to probably ever score 30 goals, but you know what you're going to get out of Adam Lowry night in and night out, and that is effort. That is blood, sweat, and tears. And if you look at the two previous Jets captains, Andrew Ladd and Blake Wheeler, to me, things didn't end how you would want them to for a captaincy, right? Like they didn't go off into the sunset like a true hero per se. Maybe Andrew Ladd a little bit more, but Blake Wheeler, things were sour at the end of that relationship. And to me, what it comes down to is expectations. Expectations mean so much in life, right? If you start dating a guy or a girl who treats you so well, buys you all these things, right? Just very nice to you. And then all of a sudden one day switches up and is kind of only giving you half of what they used to give, you're going to be a little disappointed. With Adam Lowry, he's not coming in putting up the point production that Blake Wheeler and Andrew Ladd. He doesn't have quite the offensive pedigree those guys had when they were named captain. So I do think expectations for Adam Lowry are going to be a little bit more attainable as the captain, right? Like, you know what you're getting in Adam Lowry. He's a steady partner. He's not going to fall off a cliff, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas the other two, it doesn't seem like people remember them fondly because they were stars and then they became just fringe players that were the captain. And with Lowry, I think it's more he's a gritty guy. He's someone that is going to be on your third line. You never expect him to be on your first line, and if he is, that might be a problem. But it's all about expectations. And with Adam Lowry, I think the fans are knowing what they're getting out of Adam Lowry, and I think they're going to like it. I think he's probably going to be a Winnipeg Jet until he retires. Now, whether they strip him or not before that happens, we'll see. But I think he's probably going to be a Jet for life with this move. What do you think of it, Angus?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I'm very much in that same box as you, where it's like, if I was going to choose another guy to be the captain, it would have been Morrissey, but that's your sexy white collar pick. Everyone knows that he's going to sign here for a long time, whatever. But Adam Lowry represents every working person in this city. You love what you see from him. And you say he might not be a 30 goal scorer ever. I firmly disagree with you. I think there's a chance that this year might be the one and only year where he goes all out and puts 30 into the back of the net, just because he had those slumps last season where you're just like, well, what can you do? You know, if the guy, you're going to have slumps. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he turns that around a little bit. Maybe he does find a 30 goal scorer, but whatever. Even if he's your fourth liner on this Jets team this year, because Rasmus Kapari, that guy's wowed me through the preseason. I'm not going to have an issue with Adam Lowry being your fourth line center.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's realistic that he'll ever be that guy.
Yeah, no, he shouldn't. No one should have the expectation that he's going to be 30 goal scorer. Maybe I'm a little high on him. Maybe 20 is, the ultimate max for that guy. I got to get a little excited.
He's never hit 20 goals in his career. The closest he ever got was 2016, 2017. He hit 15. The highest point production year he ever had was 36 points last year in 82 games. He had 13 goals. I love what Adam Lowry brings. I I, I would even say he's probably never even going to be a 25 goal guy. And I know that's a little hot take, and I'm not trying to rub anyone the wrong way. I love him as a player. It's just you got to call a spade sometimes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right on this. This is why you were my first hockey guy, because you are that smart.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but let's just be realistic here, Angus. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. So I mean, sexy captain for this city, love it. And yeah, we're gonna see a whole bunch of his jerseys sold with a C on the front.
Oh yeah, and I got the chance to go see him in action there in the preseason against the Flames, and it did look a little odd to me, Adam Lowry wearing the A, right? The C. But it's definitely gonna grow on me here, and I like the choice. I know a lot of people in Winnipeg are big fans of Adam Lowry, especially with the ladies. They think he's good looking, so you can never go wrong with what the ladies want. Give the ladies what they need and what they deserve. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I mean it stops Taylor Swift from coming into town to ruin the Jets for a season.
Hey man, we don't got to get the Swifties involved here. Swifties involved.
Well, we can bring the Swifties in. If there's a mob of a million women chasing after me, I'm sure I'm doing something right.
Oh, they're always invited. They're always
Yeah.
invited. We don't need to get them involved.
No, no. Sometimes you just got to hang out with the lads. Do you think that? I guess you answered that question already. Never mind. I mean, the Jets preseason's been tons of fun. Like Parker Ford. I don't know if you've seen a whole lot of his stuff, but like
Oh yeah.
Mr. 5'9", like everyone wants to say, oh, small guys can't make the NHL. That's a guy I'm all in on. Is there anyone that you see breaking into the Jets lineup this season?
I mean, it's hard to say, right? Like Parker Ford is just such a great story here for the preseason. Do I think he makes the NHL with the Jets this season full time? We'll see. Maybe he's the first call up. Maybe he's the first call up, born on July 20th, 2000, out of Wakefield, Rhode Island. Providence College alumni. I like the story. He had an amazing pass to Harkins, I do believe, for that first goal against the Flames. A little backhand. Unreal. Unreal. I saw that and I'm like, Spin Chicklets is going to put this on their Twitter and with some emojis and say filthy preseason backhand. They didn't. I was wrong on that one. But Parker Ford making a name for himself. Of course, Mr. Villy. Villy would be probably another standout for me when I'm watching these Winnipeg Jets. Someone I'm interested to see their impact on the Jets when it comes to regular season, of course, is Velarde, because when the Jets made that trade there, I loved Velarde coming back. I know PLD is the best player in the trade, technically on paper, but Velarde is just a better fit for the Jets. I'll say that. He has one heck of a shot, and hey, you got Iafallo too. You got a couple other pieces. It was a great trade for the Jets. I don't know if I necessarily have any dark horses to make the team. I feel like Billy there, everyone has him making the team just based on how well he's played. And if he doesn't, it's kind of last chance Texaco for him anyway. Like he's got to move on if he doesn't make it. And I mean, if you've ever heard me talk about the Winnipeg Jets before too, I'm not necessarily the biggest Logan Stanley guy. So I'd be okay with that saga being over sometime soon.
So just let old Stan the man walk away on waivers and hope that there is a spot for Villy. Like even moving a guy like yeah, but like you move a guy like Nate Schmidt out, and all of a sudden it makes a lot of sense on paper, or because like Kyle Capobianco looked fantastic. I know he had a groin injury there, but through the preseason, that dude's in the corners. You're thinking, what the hell is a defenseman playing in the corners? But he's able to up and down the ice, no problem. So it's like,
well, who do you have defenseman for the Jets right now?
It's like a top six. Like if I got to make that decision, so we got Morrissey DeMello, Dylan Heinola, Capobianco, Samberg. That would be my choice top six. And I know that's three young guys that you have in your top six, but like I think that's a top six that you could legitimately walk into the playoffs with. And if you have Nate Schmidt as your seventh guy, you're fine.
Did you mention Brendan Dillon there?
Yeah, Brendan Dillon as your second pair with Ville Heinola.
I do think Schmidt's a little higher than 7th D for me. I think I have 5.
I if it wasn't for his contract, he is definitely your 7th defenseman. That 6 Schmil, that's
Anyway,
going to be the rough spot.
yeah, you're paying him anyway.
Yeah, whether he's, I don't know. I know that the GM and the owners want to see that guy play. I'm letting him sit in the box, letting him do his thing. He's such a good dude in the locker room, and he has good moments, but there's just, I don't know. Nate Schmidt hasn't ever wowed us in a Jets uniform yet.
$5 million defenseman. I think everyone can agree it's a little bit of an overpay. And in the Canadian markets, Canadian fans like to get on players that make a lot of money and don't necessarily live up to it. But I think he's still a serviceable defenseman. Although I would be with you there. They should just bring in this youth movement. They should bring in all the young guys. And, I don't necessarily know that the Jets are going to win a Stanley Cup this year. So why not get all your youth players a wealth of experience, build for the future? That's what I think they should have done maybe last year when you had a chance to bring in a guy that's going to fill the seats every night in Connor Bedard. You missed out on him. There's going to be a great prospect every year in the draft, right? Usually, unless it's Nail Yakupov. And even then, everyone thought he was awesome. But I think it's time, especially with perhaps the end of an era with Scheifele and what's up in the air with Hellebuck. I don't think you want to have this team stall where it's at right now. I think you need pieces going forward. I don't see them as a Stanley Cup contender. It's the harsh reality of the NHL right now. Maybe the Jets surprise us again. Like they were the first team in the West until January something last year. They had good moments, but it just seems fundamentally they're a little bit broken. I like the move to bring in Velarde and Iafallo. I touched on that already. I think they're studs. Nino, I love Nino. I love Nino. He's a great guy, but these aren't cornerstone pieces. I don't know if the Jets have anyone to build around, right? Like Mark Scheifele, 40-goal scorer. I draft him in fantasy. By the end of the year, he's probably not going to be a Winnipeg Jet. And if he is, I'm happy. I know a lot of fans don't necessarily like Mark Scheifele, but when it comes down to is he's a 40-goal scorer in the National Hockey League. He's been around forever too. I don't know. I think Mark Scheifele gets a lot of undeserved hate, and I know he got walked by Austin Matthews last year, and they lost to Toronto, and that changed his season. And he does throw some hissy fits, and he doesn't back check, but 40-goal scorers still mean something. They're hard to come by. And if you're gonna trade them, what do you get? And what do you get for Helly? You got to think about these things, right? And I don't have any of the answers right now when it comes to those two players. Those are the two biggest things I'm looking out for this season with the Jets. Maybe both of them return. Maybe both of them sign. To me, that would be a great thing for the Jets. But even then, are those two guys that are going to get you a Stanley Cup? Maybe Hellebuck, yeah. Scheifele, you would probably be like a 1B, 1C kind of guy on a really good Stanley Cup contender, right? Like, I don't think he's ever going to be the guy, especially this late in his career. I'd love to be proven wrong. I have a Mark Scheifele jersey. I love everything he brings, but that's just what I think of the Jets right now. I don't know where they're going. I don't know what the plan is. I did like the trade, PLD. You got some good assets, right? Better than I thought you would get. But where do you go with Hellebuck? Where do you go with Scheifele? And then what does the rest of the roster look like?
Yeah, and like the issue with Cheveldayoff is he hates to lose trades. You go through his history, I think he's only lost one. And, like, how do you trade Connor Hellebuck for fair market value? You can't. So either you let him walk or you pray to God that you can get him signed. And same thing with Mark Scheifele. How do you get a number one centerman traded for fair market value and still remain a playoff contender?
Yeah, it's I really hope things can work out for both players here. But still, like, who is the guy? It's Hellebuck, I guess, but I just don't know if they have enough star power. Ehlers is 27 years old. We've wanted to see more out of Ehlers for how long now? He's a little bit of a band-aid. Once again, one of those players I love. He's so fast. He's exceptional bringing the puck through the neutral zone into the zone, his zone entries. He's one of the best in the league, him and Jasper Bratt. But I'm a little bit lost. Of course, I'm looking over Kyle Connor here as well. Great asset. I don't know.
He's not the man. Like there's all these guys in Winnipeg that are really good dudes that everybody's like just straight up likes. But yeah, you're right. Who's the guy? And I mean, teams that try to build. Yeah, but I mean, you look at teams that try to build around a goaltender. Montreal Canadiens. they just don't seem to win unless you have to build around a number one centerman and a number one defenseman, and your goaltender will come to fruition.
Yeah, and maybe something happens this year where we see the man emerge, right? Like, you never know. Maybe Ehlers has 50 goals this year. He's still in the prime of his career, right? But
Yeah.
I'm just very interested to see where the Jets go and who they are kind of gonna appoint as the cornerstone piece going forward without Scheifele and without Hellebuck. I mean, it's probably one of Connor or Ehlers, but even then, those two guys, do they get you over the hump?
Not really, no.
They're great players.
They
Any team
are.
would love to have them, but they're not. If you look at the teams that have won a Stanley Cup the last couple of years, the best player on the Vegas Golden Knights, on paper, Jack Eichel. There's no Jack Eichel on the Winnipeg Jets. There's no there's no mm, maybe you could make a case that Kyle Connor could be like a Marchessault or something like that. I don't know.
But
Yeah,
the
and then you
Jets
go
are
back,
lacking that greatness.
yeah, and you go back further like Colorado. There's no McKinnon on the Jets. There's no one of that. There's no Makar, right? If you go back to Tampa Bay, there's no Kucherov on the Jets. There's so many players that the Tampa Bay Lightning had to have to win a cup, and there's so many players that the Colorado Avalanche had to have to win a cup. Vegas a little bit more of a right place, right time. They had Eichel and more of a team built game, but they were also $13 million over the cap. The NHL, Gary's not letting the Jets do that. So, I mean, yeah, depth can win you a cup, but if you circumvent the cap, right? And you can keep going back. It seems like a superstar always wins. Ovechkin, Crosby. Who was the guy on St. Louis, though? Well, Binnington played really good. He was the guy that stood on his head. Tarasenko, of course, was a superstar at the time. You could maybe make the argument Tarasenko was close to someone that the Jets have right now. Like, I wouldn't be mad at that.
So, but like, let's just say we get to trade deadline day. Jets are like second, third into the division. Looks like they should lock up a playoff spot. If they trade for a great centerman from a team that's not making it, do you think they actually might have a shot?
Pierre-Luc Dubois? Bring him back.
Pierre-Luc Dubois back and Patrick Laine?
Oh, wow. That would be exciting and get a nice winger there. Yeah, of course. Any team that makes the playoffs has a chance to win the Stanley Cup. Any team that makes the playoffs has a chance to win the Stanley Cup. But I'm all about the odds of it happening, right? Like anyone can win the lottery, but if you have a million tickets, you have a better chance. I mean, if you have one ticket, you still have a chance. Who would be that number one center is what I want to know. Are the Jets bringing in Steven Stamkos? Are they
I mean,
signing?
with the way things are going down there, maybe.
Even then, he's old. I don't know. Like, it's interesting. I think the Jets have to just draft, maybe just tank. I don't know.
Just tank.
I know that's not what Winnipeg Jets fans want to hear because that maybe means less bums in the seats. And I don't know how that looks for the financial aspect of the team. It worries me a little bit, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a guy that tries to make it to as many games as I can each and every single year because I grew up without the Winnipeg Jets. I know that we have to support them, but I don't think everyone has that mentality of maybe they won't be around forever. I think people take advantage of the fact that they're here right now and they are a prisoner of the moment. But if you're a Jets fan listening, get out to as many games as you can, please, because we got to support our biggest attraction in Winnipeg. I think we can call it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. The Jets are the biggest attraction in this city. Yeah, there's nothing better than it being minus 40 outside, rolling on into Canada Life, and then have to get back out into the mean streets of downtown Winnipeg.
Well, I mean, the Golden Boy and the dollar store, and
oh yeah, you can't forget about that Dollar General.
oh my gosh, the dollar store being outside the Canada Life Center just irks me
I can't
because
blame you.
it just makes us look so bad. Like, please, True North, buy the dollar store and make it like a big Jets fan shop or something. Make it like anything but a dollar store because visiting teams come to Winnipeg and they see this and it just leaves a weird taste in their mouth. And I don't know. I think we can do better.
My first Jets game I ever went to, I was with a buddy, and like we were walking past it. We watched three dudes run out of that dollar store with like just armloads of stuff. And it was like, good old Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way she goes. It'll happen anywhere, but it's just too bad it's in front of the Canada Life Center.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so you and I are in the same fantasy league, and I don't want to steal any of your players, but is there someone that you're like, this is a sneaky guy? Everyone's gonna want to try to get this guy, and you want to get him like third or fourth round in your draft?
Well, I mean, not to be on the Scheifele bandwagon too much, but I do think that from a Winnipeg Jets perspective, you could probably get Scheifele later than than it probably should be. I mean, I don't know. But as far as like the rest of the league goes, I'm on the Huberto train. Give me a
Ooh,
Huberto rebound. He's gonna be a point a game player, 82 points. That's where I'm going with my dark horse fantasy pick this year. And if you're looking at an old Winnipeg Jet, which might be a sleeper, depending on who you're in a league with, Patrick Laine. He's
yeah,
gonna have a sick power play. You see that power play out in Columbus?
it's
Oh
gonna be
my.
deadly out that way.
And I wonder, do they put Fantilli on there right away, or is it Boone Jenner? Because I think you probably go Boone Jenner because Fantilli's a rookie. But once Fantilli gets on there, it's going to be electric. It already is. Goudreau, you got Line, you got Boone Jenner. Maybe you slot Fantilli on the back end. Who am I missing here? They got what? Werenski?
Yeah,
That would be their power play defense. I think probably be a top 10 power play team. So if your fantasy league looks into fantasy power play points, Patrick Line is going to get a few extra, I do believe. And he's always been a fantasy guy, right? Like
yeah,
a one timer. Oh my gosh. Throwback to the days when we had Bufflin and Line in Winnipeg. Scheifele, Wheeler was still good. Ehlers was young. It looked so promising. And now we just sit here and I feel just a little bit empty. I mean, Ehlers is still here. Connor is still here. Scheifele's still here. But I don't know. Doesn't
yeah,
feel. We don't have the same optimism that I did back when the Jets made it to the conference finals, obviously.
yeah. Oh man, yeah, that big buff, that was like that one thing that you needed in order to feel like you can do it.
He's such a unicorn, right? Like people talk about Evander Kane being a unicorn for the Edmonton Oilers. He hits, he can kill penalties, he can score goals. He does a lot of things that most people can't do in his role. But Dustin Bufflin is an actual unicorn. You'll never see anyone like that. Like Evander Kane comes around every couple of years, someone like that. Bufflin comes around once every 20 years, man.
Oh, if not more. Like, yeah. What was he? Was 6'6" and two, I want to say 240. Just
Big boy,
big
big
boy
buff.
that could move. That was an impressive man. Yeah,
I miss him.
I do too. I didn't appreciate like you know me. I grew up an Oilers fan, and Dustin Bufflin with just dummy guys, and you're like, who the hell is this big goober? And then yeah, you don't realize what you had until it's too late.
Yeah, unfortunately. And I mean, I hope Big Buff's doing well in retirement. I know some Jets fans have some not so nice words to say about Buff, or at least they didn't when he first retired. But yeah, as a person who roots for the Jets, I followed Dustin Bufflin for a lot of his career. I hope he's doing well. And I know hockey wasn't the biggest part of his life anyway. So I hope he's enjoying retirement.
Yeah, hope he enjoys going out fishing. This is a two-parter, and I think this is something that you and I can really agree on. Do you think that Winnipeg deserves a sports talk radio station again?
Yes, of course. I think a lot of people miss it in Winnipeg. I know that there is a market for it. It's all about the ratings, and that's why it got canceled. And also, Bell just decided it wasn't good anymore. And I'm not gonna say either way whether that was good or bad. It's just too bad. I miss it. I think there's a huge hole in the sports market in Winnipeg that someone should take advantage of. If you look where you're from, Edmonton, they lost sports radio for about 15 minutes, it seemed like.
Yeah.
It just didn't seem like there was that big an uproar in Winnipeg when we lost it, which is kind of sad. But Winnipeg radio didn't have the faces that Edmonton radio had. And that's just a shame. Right.
It
And I
really is.
the sports fan here in Winnipeg and Manitoba is missing out.
Yeah, it really are. I think because they killed 1290 in the middle of the pandemic, that's when people are kind of like, well, way she goes. I think that was the lack of the uproar where Edmonton was in the middle of a CFL season and the Oilers just finished up a trip to the Western Conference Finals. Right?
Very timely. Yeah, very no
Second
um
round.
second round appearance. But I know what you mean. It was very timely from them because if the Oilers made it to the conference finals, that station would have kept going for a couple weeks. And if they made it to the finals, it would have kept going. And as soon it was very strategically planned. Um, And
Well, it was
I
2 weeks right after ratings came out, so that's when they killed that.
Yeah, and I'm not a part of the whole logistics of the business side of it, but as someone who grew up listening to sports radio, and a lot of my passion for broadcasting came from sports radio, and a lot of the people I look up to came from sports radio and TV broadcasting. It's just something I miss in Winnipeg, turning on the car, turning on the radio, and listening to Hustler and Lawless and all those good guys that used to be on sports radio here. And of course, there's still Jim Toth and the guys over at CJOB, but they're more of an information station most of the time. They're not always talking about sports. To have that just 24/7 sports talk is something that Winnipeg deserves. And I do think Winnipeg will get it back one day, but I don't know when.
I think we just got to start writing angry letters to every billionaire. Be like, listen, man, just a small loan of $1 million. We'll get this thing going. You'll get your money back. Don't worry about it.
Manifestation, my friend.
Buddy.
Manifestation.
Oh, we have been putting that manifest in for months. My company right now owns Sportsnet, and I constantly, you guys need to bring a Sportsnet station here to Winnipeg.
That would be beautiful. And I think there's a market for it. It's just the ratings I don't think do well in any sports talk radio because we learned this in school. Me and Angus went to broadcasting school. It all depends on who picks up their phone, at least in Winnipeg, and tells the person on the other side of the phone they're listening to sports radio. The only people that do that are listening to like classical jazz or hardcore rock. They don't often point out the fact that they're listening to sports radio, and that brings down the rankings. And the people that invest in the sports radio see that and they're like, is it really worth it? I think there was a lot of people listening to 1290 and the sports radio that we had in Winnipeg that were misrepresented and weren't accounted for, that the people that financed it didn't really realize, and they made an interesting move. I definitely miss it, and I could talk about this for hours. So yeah, you got me going here, Angus.
Dude, it's something I'm passionate about, and yeah, the day that it comes, I really hope that you and I working at the same station one day, talking about what's going on in the sports world.
At high noon.
High noon. Oh, buddy.
Let's
prime time slot.
Yes, sir.
We can start bullying old Low Tide too.
Yeah, may as well get him on the program.
Might as well. It'd be fun. Is there any I guess never mind. I've answered all my questions here. You're one hell of an interviewee.
A lot of fun, man. I love talking.
We'll get you on back. We'll get you back on again for sure there, pal.
Let me ask you one question, Angus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Realistically, out of 32 teams, where do the Winnipeg Jets slot at the end of the season? I'm not even talking Western Conference. We could dive into that too, but 32 teams, where are they?
See, this is the worst possible question because I think they could end up anywhere from 5th to 30th. Realistically, I think they're going to do what they've done over the last few years, end up about 14th, 13th, 15th, somewhere in that little pocket. You know, you made the playoffs. You're not going to get anyone sweet, but if things go right, you might not have a first round exit. If things go the same way, you might end up with a first round exit in 5 games again. So firmly, I kind of think it's middle of the road. And again, here in Winnipeg,
you keep Scheifele, you keep Hellebuck, and you add at the deadline. I think you finish anywhere from 11 to 12, maybe 10. You sell on those guys. I could see from anywhere 25 to 29.
Yeah. But Cheveldayoff has to stop sitting on his hands, and he needs to make a decision on these guys. Actually, I got one more for you before you head off. If you could choose one of Hellebuck or Scheifele to keep at the end of the season, who would you want?
Hellebuck, Vezina winner, absolute difference maker. I'm a Scheifele fan through and through, but got to call a spade a spade. Like I said earlier, Hellebuck is the biggest difference maker.
What's the contract you offer him?
Oh, well, now you're
now we're getting into the nitty gritty.
Now I gotta have to look at it. I mean, he probably wants 10. What are the rumors? You're a big rumor mill guy. What does he want? 10?
11? I've heard 10 million by 8 years, which is ridiculous. No one's going to pay him that much. I could see 4 for 9 3/4. 4 years at 9 3/4. I think that's a reasonable rate, but he wants to go win a cup. Why doesn't he just go, cup chasing? 1-year contracts until he wins it.
Where does he go? Who needs a goalie?
New Jersey. New Jersey should be winning a cup ASAP, but they don't have any goaltenders.
That Jack Hughes, man, he's special. I love
Oh,
Jack Hughes.
unbelievable what that guy does. Actually, I heard just a rumor before you hopped on here that NHL is looking at a version of Red Zone that's going to start in October.
That's the best program in all of sports on
Buddy, I
TV.
love Red Zone.
Yeah, Red Zone every Sunday. I mean, the guys over there at Betway,
Oh yeah, they love it.
I, they love that. I love Red Zone too because that's where I have myself planted on the couch, making bets with the boys, parlays, and sometimes they hit, and oftentimes I swing for the fences and miss. So
Yeah, well, it's all about swinging for the fences. I know that first night when we got all 32 teams playing, I am putting down a 30 or a 16 leg parlay to see what happens. Maybe I'm a quarter millionaire off of $3.
as you should, and then we bring back the sports radio.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
One heck of a story there. I mean, yeah, I'd probably go as high as 10 with Helly. And how old is he? 27?
29, 28.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. I probably wouldn't go any more than 6 years at 10 million with him. But I'd be very hesitant. Like that would be like very last second, pull that out of the bag, just because I don't think a team ever has won a cup without it with a player over 10 million. Besides this past year, I think Eichel would be the first, but I'd have to get fact checked on that one. So yeah, teams with players over 10 million don't win the cup.
Yeah, and really, goaltenders making a whole schwack of money don't win the cup.
Not often. I mean, Carey Price, of course, he got his team to the finals, but maybe if they had an extra 3 million, they could have brought in someone who could have helped them score against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, well, it's also Toronto just sucking ass in the first round for that one too.
3-1 lead.
Oh,
Why is that one not talked about as much as the Boston one?
right? Yeah, that was a way more egregious 3-1 drop.
I guess because in game 7 they blew the 3-1 lead as well, or whatever,
Yeah.
4-1 lead. But Toronto had a far superior team in the pandemic there, and then all of a sudden that just kind of gets swept under the rug. And also,
That's because Toronto just sweeps as much crap under the rug until like, oh well, we got Babcock issues here, so let's worry about those.
yeah, Babs, good old Babs. I love seeing like what do the Leafs need, like that little like thing they put on the TV at the start of the season. Like they go through like whatever team needs. What do the Oilers need? What do the Jets need? What do the Flames need? Like little graphic. I love like taking a picture of that, blurring out what they actually put and just putting more media coverage. That's what the Leafs need every year.
I think we need 3 more sports stations in Toronto to get to all the Leafs coverage. Maybe even
Yeah,
2 state TV stations too.
it is marketing, right? So I get
Yeah,
it. Like the biggest market in the hockey world, but man, they get a lot of attention.
they sure do, and I am tired of it.
I mean, I'm a
But
big
it
fan.
also brings me joy when they lose because everyone's just freaking out about it because it's the end of the world in Toronto.
I will say, when the Toronto Maple Leafs lose, it takes a lot of pressure off other teams because you're not going to be first on Sports Center tonight. Oh, another loss for blank. It's going to be no. Toronto is leading off the cast every time if they're in a losing streak, even if they're winning. Yeah, Toronto's just leading the cast no matter what. They take a lot
Yeah.
of pressure off other Canadian markets, I guess. But let me just say the Max Domi ad, I think that's going to be good for the Leafs. I
Do they
like the
actually win a game in the second round?
I can't answer that, but I like the ad. They're in a tough division. I'll give them that. I think Noah Gregor could be a good ad there too. And I was worried that they were maybe going to get Zegras, but Zegras re-signed in Anaheim, so that's done.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a
And
wild story. Can't believe that Zegras only signed for that much.
I mean,
Well, I
he,
think Anaheim's gonna they shot themselves in the foot with that signing. Like you need to overpay that young guy so you can kind of shelter him because it's going to be a rough 3 years. You got to make that money work for a guy like that.
the thing about Zegras is he's flashy, but
I mean, what, 60 points,
I
65 points
don't
last year?
know if he's truly elite. I think he can probably be an 82 point a game guy, 82 points in a season guy, so a point a game at his peak. Maybe I'm wrong. Could be wrong with anything in life, but I kind of understand it, especially with the fact that he's still going to be an RFA and he's not going to just be able to walk. You still have him under the RFA rules when his contract is up, and now you have more room to sign. I don't know who you're going to bring to Anaheim to try and turn that around. Maybe Stamkos goes there next year, but even then, he's a little washed up. It's interesting times out there in Anaheim.
Sure is. I mean, it's always interesting times in good old NHL.
True. I love that it's back, baby. Let's
Oh,
go.
buddy, it's coming. It's going to be a good one. So yeah, I mean, get your ass out to a Jets game or two this season. You deserve it. Jets deserve it. Mark Chipman deserves a couple of your dollars.
More of our dollar.
Yeah, I mean,
He
who
brought it
doesn't?
back.
He did. He did. We cannot scrutinize Mr. Chipman a whole lot. Actually, I got to meet him this summer, and that was very cool for me.
Right on. Yeah, that is awesome.
Yes. All right, Noah. Well, thank you so much for your time. Have fun covering the election tonight.
Yes, sir. I
Yes,
will.
sir.
Thank you for having me on. Anytime you want. It's always fun to talk hockey with you, Angus. And
Absolutely.
hopefully your fantasy team just absolutely sucks this year.
You know what? As long as I can win the playoffs, that's all I care about. Maybe I can pull a Florida next year and actually pull off the big dub.
This year. I know you're drafting Bedard with your first pick.
Oh, no. Oh, no. You have to take McDavid.
No,
like,
but you're not.
Yeah. Like Bedard's going to be unreal in the next few years. Like I'm actually pissed off already because I know that guy's going to be on a casual, like, oh yeah, he just scored 4 hat tricks in a row. No big deal. And he's going to be like, yeah, that wasn't good enough for me. I'm already tired of him.
A better goal scoring Patrick Kane. And that's just scary to think about. Let me just do a quick little analysis here because Patrick Kane, how many times do you think he ever hit 100 points?
I feel like only twice.
Yeah, you'd be correct, right? But the way you think of Patrick Kane, you think he was probably like a 10-time 100-point scorer, but no, 110 and 106. His highest goal production season was 46. I could see Bedard hitting 60, right?
Oh yeah, easy. I think that guy's going to be one of the first guys. Like, I think he's actually going to surpass like the 65 mark in his career, and multiple times, not just once, but multiple times.
The only worry I have is he's a little small, right? Like you get.
Yeah. But I mean,
time.
Guys grow up, right? I mean, he's only 18. You give him a few years. Like McDavid was, look how tiny McDavid was when he is 18 to versus 22, 23.
I know. McDavid's definitely put on some weight, but McDavid also had the height over Bedard. I don't know. We'll see. I'm rooting for him. I love Bedsy. Don't drag release Bedsy. Coach Chippy there. Yeah, I think he's probably going to be a 60 goal scorer, right? And
yeah, 100%. I just won't draft him first overall this year. I would take McDaddy first overall if I got that choice.
As you should. And we haven't determined the draft order yet. It's still randomized an hour before ESPN lets us draft there. So yeah, we'll maybe we'll discuss that on another podcast if I'm allowed back on.
Oh, you'll be back on for sure. Not like some goons like John Scott badmouthing the Jets the entire time.
Good old NHL All-Star John Scott.
What a legend. Love him. Actually, we're gonna have him back on. I can't disagree with that guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. No, I'm actually gonna let you go because I gotta get ripping home here. So have a great night. Have fun with the election. If you didn't vote in this election, I'm gonna shame you a little bit, but if you're of age. But yeah, you know how it goes. All right, peace out, buddy.
Yeah, take care. Stay classy, Jets fans.
Stay classy.